Alright, here we are, inside Shattered Halls. So this place, if you're playing a Protection Paladin, you're probably gonna see this place a lot in TBC. Because in here there's not only one, but several items you generally wanna get. One of them being the helm I'm wearing in this video right now, and the most important one being the trinket from the last boss. The figurine of the Colossus, which was also the first video I made on the channel about that trinket. That trinket is probably the single most important item for a Protection Paladin in the entire Burning Crusade. And that is not an overstatement. It's such a big deal. I would literally trade any tier 6 item for that trinket if I could, if I had to choose. Saying that, this is on the TBC Beta. I've finally reached level 70. I have gotten some of my freebies, some of the blue items you want from quests, and done Black Morass to get the Continuum Blade, and I'm looking pretty dandy here for doing this on normal. This is not heroic. If this was heroic, I would already be dead, trust me. These mobs hit pretty hard on normal. Like if you watch any other content creator on Paladins, like serious gaming, like Costin or Dr. Kale or whatever, and them talking about this place hurts a lot. Which is the reason, as you can see, we're using frost traps. And later on also improved the blizzard, I think, in this run. I must admit I lost count of which run this is, because I did this place 25 times before I got my trinket. Yes, I did Shattered Halls 25 times on the beta. And when I finally got my trinket, I was half a bar of being exalted with Honor Roll. So yeah, it can be a pretty tough grind. I really don't hope I'm gonna be this unlucky when I'm playing on the live client, but yeah, it was kind of brutal. Over 2 days, I spent like 15 hours or something in here with random people. And if you're doing this with people who don't know the place, you will probably wipe, because there are a lot of mechanics to take care of here. And it can be very healer intensive, so I've had to more or less personally train each of the healers I've had in here in how to do this. And the same goes for the hunters and mages, because they play a really important role here. I generally would not do this place as a Protection Paladin unless you have either a hunter for Frost Trap, the slowing trap. I don't play hunter Frost Trap, I don't know what it's called, but the one that slows. Or improved blizzard from a mage. You can also use Earthbind Totem from a shaman, but it's kind of sketchy because the slow is... it's not that much, and also the totem is vulnerable to be just struck down. So yeah, I definitely prefer a hunter or a mage. The mage is the best for sure, because the blizzard can last indefinitely, as long as the mage is casting it, and it slows the most out of any. Now, why do you want to slow these mobs? Well, the main reason you want to slow them is because they hurt a lot. And if they're slowed, you can just kite them around as a paladin without taking damage and still keep all your threat on them, more or less, because you can keep consecrating. So as long as you establish the first threat with the Holy Shield and consecrates, you can just walk away, backpedal to minimize your hitbox and don't get hit at all. And that's how you deal with some of the tougher packs later in. So these next packs are pretty easy, to be honest. They have some ranged and they have some sharpshooters. The sharpshooters will scatter shot the highest threat target, generally the tank. And when you're scattershotted, you won't have any threat for 3 seconds. The mobs will completely ignore you. So if you're scattershotted and you don't have the mob slowed, you will generally lose either the healer or DPS. Yeah, Shattered Halls is probably the single best dungeon to tank for a paladin in the entire Burning Crusade. Simply because there's more or less no single target apart from the bosses. And if you're running a warrior in here, you're gonna struggle a lot. you're gonna also do it very slow compared to doing it with a Purple Paladin. I mean, I'm in greens and blues here. If you did this with full blues or some carry pieces, you would be able to do like twice the size of the pools I'm doing here and do it way faster. So yeah. But this first corridor, it's not really that dangerous. It's kind of a weak start to the whole place. Healer-wise, I generally think that running a shaman is a really good option. Because even if you take all these precautions, you may end up having your healer getting killed, and having an Ankh is really nice. I definitely would run a Warlock if I had one here, but the beta is kind of, you gotta take what you get, so I couldn't really choose. But Seed of Corruption is just huge in here. Plus having Soul Stones and the general other benefits of a Warlock is just very nice. I think my optimal comp for running this would be a Shaman Healer, Protection Paladin, 1 Frost Mage, and 2 Warlocks probably. That's a bit unrealistic though, so yeah. If you can't find 2 Warlocks, then run 1 Warlock and either Ret Paladin can work. Fury Warriors good cleave, but they can very easily die. And apart from that, I think maybe a Shadow Priest would be beneficial, because you will be having mana issues there because you're doing so many big pulls. Not you as a Protection Paladin necessarily. I'm popping a lot of potions also because like my gear is trash, but you're taking a lot of damage, so your mana regen won't be that bad, but your healer and other DPS will be running room if they are constantly pulling. So I think a Shadow Priest might be beneficial. But yeah, 2 Lux, 1 Mage, Protection Paladin, and Shaman Healer is my preferred option here. For the totems from the Shaman, I generally tell them to use Wind Fury, mainly because I don't really see my threat as an issue in here, because there's so much AoE, and if there's AoE, you can generally hold threat of the DPS, unless they're obscenely more geared than you. And Wind Fury gives you more mana regen, so I like that. So in this room, after doing that big pull, I always pull that big pull back because there's range in it. I just go around here aggroing all this, and then I Avenge Shield here, and then I LOS to get the caster in there. And this isn't that bad of a pull, but you want to communicate this if you haven't done this with this group already, that you're doing this, because you might LOS the healer or run away from the healer. So yeah, just say you're gonna LOS them over here. Your DPS might also go for the caster and just fuck up this whole pull, so yeah. Just communicate it. When you're moving into the next room here, you have 2 options. Either you bring a rogue and open the door here with lockpicking, or you go through this tunnel. And in general, I would say don't bring a rogue, because yeah, rogues and basically any dungeons in TBC are not a good combination, to put it that way. Especially in this place, they're gonna spend a lot of time to and this tunnel isn't really that annoying if you're a Protection Paladin. If you're a bear or a warrior, this tunnel is gonna be hell on earth, to put it that way. Less so as a bear, because you have some cleave and you also you can shapeshift out of the slow. But yeah, as a Protection Paladin, it's not really that big of a deal. Also a reason the DPS might ask for this pack, and this pack can really hurt. Like, the small blobs don't have a lot of health, but they explode when you're in close contact with them. Not on death, but they do an AoE a lot, so if you have a melee DPS, they're gonna be taking a lot of damage there, as you will probably see on the Red Paladin in a bit. What I like to do here is just run in, get some of the stacks of the slow. It stacks up to 40% at max, so you go pretty slow, and then free them myself. free them a little bit earlier to just clear it, and then I move them, because we pulled that one, but usually I would pull that first one, this one, and the third one, and then stop an AoE. You don't want to pull all of them, or you don't want to pull more than 3 at the same time, because they do a lot of damage, especially when you have low gear. If you have good gear, you can probably just pull all of them. But yeah, this is another reason to not bring a melee player in here, because it's gonna be a pretty bad time for them on this pull. There's some pretty weird pathing here, which I didn't see on the private server I played on, but it's on the beta, and if you're on the ledge, you will, if you're up there and pull threat on the mobs, they will run all the way around a very long route. I see some potential for like a farm here, because you can path the mobs just like any, like the slave pens pathing or sulfurat pathing on that place. So maybe there's some potential for some AoE pulls here and on higher gear levels, but yeah. I don't know, it's at least a possibility. He isn't that difficult, and it can be kind of rough if you can't kill him fast enough, if you have very low DPS, or if you have a lot of melee, because he does a whirlwind. If you've done Sarchura in Q40 in Classic, then you will know what I'm talking about. Or literally, yeah, Leotheras, for instance. Spinny and very, very hurty. So yeah, we had this ret die a couple times on this, some previous runs, I think. I don't remember if he died here, but he may very well do that. Generally, as a Paladin, I like to just Holy Shield and stay in, because if you have Holy Shield up, he won't eat through all the charges and you will generally take very little damage. And it's good threat. So yeah, you can see that here I'm Holy Shielding, he's spinning, I'm not taking that much damage. Yeah, it's good, but the Red Paladin has to stay out if he will die if he doesn't. This boss can drop the helm I'm currently wearing, which is a very good helm. I'll try to remember to show it on screen. But yeah, it's a very high stamina and defense helm. The strength I don't really care about on it, but it's a really good helm. So yeah, and this boss also drops Spell Strike, the Spell Strike Hood recipe. So you probably won't have any issues getting mages and warlocks for these runs, which is very nice. In this corridor there may be assassins, which are invisible, so you may want to use perception if you're human, or have a hunter use flare, but it's not always there. If they see you and you're out of combat, they will generally zap you. If you're in combat, they will cheap shot you, and if they zap you, there's... Currently now on the beta they sometimes just whack you even if you're zapped, which I can't really recall them doing on the private server. So I'm not sure what's up about that, but yeah. I try to pull these as far as I can and get all of them in one, because we can just AoE them all down, they're not that dangerous. The dangerous part here is staying in this corridor for too long, because there's fire and arrow volleys coming down all the time. And you want to get to the end and kill the NPC that spawns these as fast as possible. So yeah, just keep moving. Generally like to face pull these and Avenger shield them. There comes the runners, and get everything into this pack. I'm marking stuff in here with my F keys. I have everything set up for marking. So it can be a good idea, because if you're AoE tanking, you're not generally focusing one enemy, right? You're focusing all the enemies. So if you have any single target DPS like the Red Paladin, it's good for them to know which mob they should attack, because then you are aware of them attacking Skull and ready to taunt or ready to focus it with some judgments and some melee. So these side packs aren't necessary to kill, but they are needed for a quest, and they are also needed for dailies, and they are also needed for rep. And what you can do here is wait for them to whack themselves half to death, and once they're low you can pull them and get a very easy kill. But these packs really hurt, and they also do Mortal Strike, which makes them very hard to heal. So here you absolutely need Frost Traps or Improved Blizzard. I would go as much as to say that if you don't have a lot of gear, as in anything before Karazhan, you need to do this, if not you will die. Especially early on in TBC, like just CC them or slow them like this. You can see me backpedaling to avoid stretching out my hitbox. If I was walking regularly, I would take a lot of damage because I would have a much larger hitbox. But as you can see here, the mobs are more or less dead by the time I pull them. So they come in with like 10% HP. So let's talk about the next pull here. You can see the dog pack there. That's a pet that walks all the way up to the corridor and down here. Just pull it whenever you have a good opportunity. It's not dangerous, and you might as well just kill it. But it can be very annoying if you pull it when you don't mean to, because it may chain another pack, which might wipe you. And the mob here is ranged, so you don't want to have him pull far away. And the next pack here is pretty dangerous too. It has ranged mobs, which can fear, which can mind blast, and do a lot of nasty stuff. And the skull target here, the Legionnaire, will call for more help if he isn't killed fast enough. That help is 3 elite mobs each time he calls for them, so you can very easily get overwhelmed if you don't focus him down. So in a comp like this, I would generally mark him with skull to have the single target just nuke him and the AoE just do their thing. If you have an AoE group, you might want to have you might want to assign one of the AoEers to just focus him down first, because if they're all going for AoE, he's probably not going to die fast enough to avoid the spawns. You can choose here, either you pull them back with LOS, or you go in and kill them where they are now. But no matter what you do, you want to communicate it, because you will die in literally 2 seconds if you don't get healed going into this pull. LOS can be a good option if you want to just be absolutely sure you don't pull any more mobs, because some of these can fear you, and that might be nasty. But also fighting in this corridor can be awkward because it's narrow and you have less space to kite them, so yeah. It's a trade-off really. You can see the Hunter here put the Frost Trap very close to the wall, and I have very little space to work with, so yeah. Since it's the same as last time, I think maybe I should just update a little bit about the channel. So, I started this YouTube channel just because I wanted to put out some TBC content that I didn't really feel like a lot of other people were putting out. There are some good Protection Paladin YouTubers out there. I wanted some content specific for certain scenarios. For instance, the Aldo rep farm for Protection Paladins, which I don't really know if anyone else has done yet. I enjoyed doing videos, and I will do more of them, for sure. I have a full-time job, so I gotta focus on that too, but I really want to put out as much content as I can. And with the trinket, which I got at the end of one of these dungeons, finally, I can make a lot of content now, so I will do that on the beta, for sure, to test out the trinket and show farms with the gear I have, which is worse than previous by quite some margin right now, so it's gonna be pretty representative for what you can expect going into TBC as a Protection Paladin. I wanna try to make the videos better than they have been. As in, I want to have more voice videos, I want to have face cam, I want to have better production quality, which is why I made the intro to the videos. Like, I feel like personally it's a little bit cringe, kinda, to make like intros and a brand, whatever. Like, I have 150 subscribers, I don't need that, but at the same time, a lot of people have it, so I figured I might as well do it myself. For TBC, I will be raid leading in the raids in my guild Aftershock, which is currently on Netherguard Keep. It's not a classic guild, it's made for TBC specifically, and a lot of the members in there are currently raiding Naxxramas with different guilds. And I'm looking really forward to it, to be honest. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm definitely gonna stream, I'm gonna make more videos. We're gonna try to focus on doing pretty, how do I put this? Like, I don't want to say hardcore because it's kind of a loaded term, like might be misunderstood, but we want to have really solid rating and we want to try to push the limits. and optimize the comp. So yeah, it's gonna be pretty... I guess it's gonna be pretty hardcore, that's the way to put it, but yeah, it's gonna be fun. And also the logo you saw at the start of the video was, that's the guild logo, so now you know that. But yeah, anyways, back to the video. So for these mobs, I generally like to try to pull all of these three and then also go pick up these two champions, because the three mobs aren't really that dangerous by themselves. You can see they whack me even when I'm casting and I don't take that much damage, so it's kind of whatever. The champions are kind of dangerous, so you want to mark them and you want to have them either CC'd or you want to have the option to backpedal and kite them. They can stun you with a concussive blow. Basically, they are protection warriors, and if they stun you with a concussion blow, it lasts 5 seconds and you have no mitigation while you're stunned. Sometimes you will get a couple assassins in this corridor and sometimes you don't. The assassins path along this ring, I believe, and around the rooms. Sometimes you see them, sometimes you don't. If you're going in there with, say, 430 defense and 8,000 health, I would definitely use free action potions there, because you're probably gonna be chunked. But here we are at the second boss, and this is the majority of the trash done. Most of the trash is between the first boss and the second boss. This boss can be a disaster if you do him wrong. Wormbringer Omrog is known as one of the single hardest dungeon bosses in the entirety of the Burning Crusade, and that's for good reason, because he has 2 aggro tables, which he switches between. Which means when he switches to his second aggro table, you have very little threat on him, and it's very random how much threat anyone has on him. You might end up having a DPS just 2000 threat above you, which is pretty recoverable. Just have DPS up and judge him. If you're a Paladin, you can just bop whoever gets highest threat and it's pretty easy. And if you have a comp which consists of a Hunter, Mage, Warlock, for instance, you will not have a bad time generally. The Warlock can generally sustain some hits. He can also Soul Shatter, Mage can Ice Block, Invisibility, and the Hunter can feign death. So these classes which have threat drops are very beneficial to bring here. If you're in melee range and he changes threat, you might get just insta-gibbed, so yeah. You can see he switched threat there to the Red Paladin. Luckily it was very close on threat though, so I could just recover it easily. But I like to keep up 5 stacks of Seal of Vengeance on the boss, because you will get a lot bigger judgment hits if you judge on 5 stacks of Vengeance than if you're judging on Seal Righteousness. This hall has a lot of assassins, and it's not just sometimes, it's always. There's like 5 assassins in this corridor. They can be very deadly. You don't want to just run haphazardly into this corridor. You want to flare the whole corridor, or even send in a DPS to get sapped, because if you get sapped and the rogue just goes for your healer, that might be a dead healer very fast. The rogues also do a stacking wound poison, which reduces the healing you take, so having several of them can be pretty sketchy. Especially if you're running a comp where you have no poison removal, say you're running a priest healer. The shaman healer has really good sustain, good cooldowns, and can cleanse poisons, and good AoE healing, while also having the Ankh and the ability to res. Druids can also remove poisons and curses, but druids can't res regularly, and they can't remove curses in tree form, and they move really slow, so yeah, I don't think druid healers is the way to go here, honestly. The damage can also be pretty spiky, and druids aren't that good at spiky damage. I would say run a priest healer if you have another dispeller, that being protection paladin can work for poisons, or any other dispeller in the group, or run a shaman. You can run a paladin healer, but yeah, that's gonna be pretty sketchy for some of these parts, I think. Especially if you're running some melee DPS, because they're gonna take a lot of damage. You can definitely heal it though as a holy paladin, it's workable. So this should be the last pull before the boss. And you can see the Red Paladin taking quite heavy damage there from the mob while I was stunned. So yeah. Again, melee, not the best option. The boss himself isn't that dangerous, to be honest. He hits reasonably hard, but not that hard, and he's pretty easy to tank. But what he does is call in reinforcements all the time, which is why I will tank him in this opening, so my consecration will pick it up, or I can just judge them as they come. The thing he does, though, is he will randomly charge anyone in the group and run across all the room and deal a very large amount of damage to them. And there's no way to avoid it. The only way to really deal with it is to have a lot of stamina. As in, if you have too little stamina, you will die. And that's that. So that's fun. The Red Paladin died on this sometimes, because if you're also very close to him, he will both charge you and melee you, usually. He might even switch threat if you're in melee, because you have a lower threat threshold to reach. So spreading out here is really important, because if he charges and you're stacking, then you will take... both will take a lot of damage. And this is the boss that drops the trinket you want. Yeah, you can see the charge there. There might be some threat issues with the mobs here, so have the DPS pick them up, have the hunter CC them, pet go on them, whatever. Just keep them off the healer, really. You can see the hunter started to attack it there, but it was kind of late, to be honest. The ads aren't dangerous at all. They aren't elites, and they don't really hurt that much. The only danger is them going for you healer. Yeah, you can see he charged and killed the Red Paladin there. So yeah, that's unfortunate. That's what he does. And the trinket didn't drop in that run, but this next run, this is my 25th run of Shattered Halls. The green bar on the top is my reputation with Honor Hole, which is currently very close to Exalted. 1 bar left. And I am pretty done with this place at this point. On the private server I did 2 Shattered Halls and got my trinket. And here I had to do 25 runs. I really don't hope the drop rate is that bad. I hope I was just very unlucky. I saw every other drop from the boss, but here it finally dropped for me, along with the gloves for the Paladin dungeon set. Finally I got my trinket after a long grind, and I'm very happy. I'm gonna make a lot of videos with this trinket now in the beta, to show farms, to show Straddle, to show the Aldo rep farm, to show the Scryer's rep farm. But yeah, thanks for watching, and thanks for subscribing and watching my channel. I really like it, and I will keep the content coming. I will stream a lot more in TBC once it finally launches, and keep everyone updated on all the Paladin stuff that comes out. So yeah, thanks a lot, and see you later.